Sagittarius. Welcome to a special reading that's going to look at the rest of 2020, and I'm even extending that into January of 2021 in terms of what I see as a certain portal for, maybe I'll call it a green light portal. You're only the second sign that I have done, because I kind of devised a spread on the fly for this type of reading. And the reason I came up with this reading is because I know that October and up to mid-November is a period where I think we're going to wrap up, as I just called it, the shit show that has been 2020. And I'm being slightly facetious, because I do think that all of these things will, in time, prove to be profound in terms of our growth. When we're in the thick of it, it may seem like it is just like too much. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I've been having some, I'm a Sag too, and it's been tough. It's been tough recently. And the full moon in Aries has just passed, and boy, I really did get a little heated, but in a like, I can't take this anymore kind of way. And maybe some of you felt the same way. I wouldn't be surprised. But the point is that astrologically, and of course this is the tarot, but I kind of like to mix the two. What is happening is that we have Jupiter and Saturn turn direct in September. In October, we have and Mars turned retrograde, and Mars is retrograding in October. We have a Mercury retrograde starting in mid-October, and both of these planets turn direct in November. Mars, Mercury in early November, and Mars in the middle of November. And so from that middle part of November until the end of January of 2021, and I'm not counting, any kind of shadow periods. I'm just talking about the official retrogrades and direct. We have all the planets direct, except for Uranus, an outer planet, which goes direct, I think, in mid-January. So there is one outer planet that is still retrograding. But the point being that this can be a time of perhaps things that you have wanted to push through or accomplish being more likely to happen. Obviously, people have been starting new things all throughout the year, and some of them have really been successful. I feel that it would be a crime to encourage people to only do things during certain periods. You have to use your intuition. But just saying, if you are one of those people who, is easily discouraged and feels like if something doesn't take right away, it's not going to work, then maybe doing it at a time that's cooperative, if there's not like a time crunch, will give you an extra boost. Who knows? I can't guarantee it. But it might, and then that way you would feel that sense of, I'm trying to see, okay, is this one? Okay, I don't know. Okay, so let's go. So I'm picking two cards in the middle that are going to represent the themes of this time frame. Ooh, I like that. So the one on the left is the past. It's funny, they're giving me like what is exactly center. I don't care. I'm just and then the one on the right is the future. So then I'm going to pick three cards to kind of like talk about the past and what you've, maybe the lessons you've had to learn this year, Sag. And then we're going to do three that, situations that might come up for you that are very, front and center. Okay. Okay, so let's just talk about the main theme here. So what I got here is the Fool card. Now, at first I was confused because I was thinking to myself, well, I don't feel as a Sagittarian that I am entering or I have entered a new phase. It really does feel like a lot of kind of things hanging in the balance, doesn't it? I don't know. At least it has for me. It hasn't felt like a new energy. And yet, this is a new journey that we don't know about. So it's a 0. So that is possible in the sense that you could be going through something and it's not necessarily something that is, that you're well aware is a new phase. Like when you start college or when you get married or you have your first child or something that is like, wow, that past has gone away and now this is like a totally new phase. It might be on a spiritual level. It might be in an attitude. Maybe it's with your relationship, your primary relationship, that you have a whole new way of looking at it. And in that context, it could be that you're no longer so attached. Not that you don't love that person, but you're not as impacted by their opinion of you, that you have enough of an opinion of yourself that you're not swayed by it. And maybe in the past, you were very controlled by it. But I wouldn't be surprised. I have the Justice card in the past. Perhaps some of you did experience divorce, and I would say if you did, and divorce meaning long-term relationship, if you did experience divorce, then I would say especially if you were in a very long-term relationship, because the Fool is like, wow, this is really different. This is what a novel experience because it had been so long. So the bottom line is about being able to, reflect on this. Do you feel, we do have the eclipses that have started in Sag and Gemini, and there will be a couple more, as a matter of fact, but I'm not going to talk about the ones in the future because this is about the past. The one that was in Sag was on June 5th, and that was in the sign of Sag. So a lunar eclipse. So that means that it may have been letting go of something in your life that was quite painful. Or maybe it was something that you don't even know what it is when I tell you. Because I'm thinking about myself, and I'm thinking, did I really let go of anything? I can't really remember, It's all been such a blur. But who knows? Maybe it's just a matter of letting go of the need to have an outer freedom. Meaning, with the shutdown, I think that this may have impacted Sages worse than other people, or fire signs, possibly air signs, because masculine signs are very much, they like to be in the world and doing things, be very active in the world. And I think the feminine signs, the earth and water signs, like holding up at home. So they may have been like, hey, now I don't have to go into the office. I can stay at home. And, so that may have been something that you have to, like, with the Fool is about a journey. Maybe your journey had to be on the spiritual or the psychological level, not physically moving around. And that in and of itself can provide its own benefits. So anyway, then I got the 3 cards that may have kind of fleshed this out. We have the 8 of Pentacles. Sometimes no matter how hard you try with something, it's not going to necessarily work. Or you could say that it will pay off eventually. So if you're looking for instant gratification, perhaps you had to realize that that's not the case. For some people, you may have had to get certain training in order to really up your game. For other people, you may have tried to work on a marriage and it just wasn't meant to be. We have the Justice card. Whenever you see a Justice card, you can think of an actual legal decision. This can be a Libra individual. Perhaps this person taught you something about detachment or freedom, wanting, valuing freedom. Maybe that's what the Fool card represents, is that, you took for granted the freedom that you had until you didn't have it anymore. I don't know that would be true of a lot of Sagittarius. I think that we tend to revel in freedom and are very aware of when we have it and when we don't. So the Justice card can be about fairness. And so if you have felt that you have toiled away at something and not received proper compensation, or maybe even just gratitude, then that may have figured into a decision that you had to make. And also, I would say too that the Justice card can be any kind of legal matter that you had to deal with. It's in the upright position, so it seems that everything went accordingly. But it still is something that I think a lot of Sagittarius would rather not go through. And the Queen of Swords. I just actually picked this for Scorpio as well. So with some of you Sagittarius who are more intense, who have your moon or inner planets in Scorpio, maybe this is one for you. This is about being able to allow your heart to take the back seat so that you can do something, you can choose logic over a certain situation. So it's about detachment, needing to make a decision without engaging your heart, but without, the Queen represents the water element, so it is going to involve keeping your humanity, keeping your sensitivity while you are disengaging. And this is where a lot of people lose the they lose the battle, because they're trying so hard to get over somebody that they end up trying to demonize it. And I would even say with addictions, sometimes you can have an addiction and then you turn that substance into the enemy. And maybe, for a while that has to be the case in order to really detach from it. But what often happens is that it creates a negative attraction. The best way to truly detach from a situation is to neutralize your emotions so that they're no longer just totally engaged in whatever, that they have that sense of, you're able to, create some space between you and whatever it is. So let's look at the future, which Sagittarius really are all about, is the future. Not the past, but the future. So we have the Ace of Pentacles, which is a card of new beginnings that have stability attached to them. Sometimes this can be a financial windfall. I claim this card. What about you? So that portal is your opportunity to step into the new life that the Fool suggests, but some things that may have dragged you down. Maybe that's what the Fool too is about, is trying to tell you that a new cycle is underway, but things have been kind of keeping that from fully happening. So the Ace of Pentacles can be a new business, a new job, a new, like a new source of revenue, a new relationship that has legs. I always say that has legs, that has the potential for really anchoring your life, because it's coming from a place of more, it's coming from a place of stability, rather than, if I got the Ace of Wands, that would be all about passion. That's fire energy, and fire energy is very sexy, it's very exciting, but it's not necessarily very stable. And this is very stable. So let's look at the cards that accompany this in this time frame. And some of them, there are a couple here that are kind of challenging. One is the Five of Cups. This is the card of mourning the loss of something, as well as maybe, with the two cups that the person has turned their back on, maybe needing to look at all the things that you may have lost in this past year. What is the silver lining in this situation? And really, about grieving the loss of something, for instance, if there has been some kind of, death in the family, and perhaps that is, the Ace of Pentacles, I've never seen it be like connected specifically to inheritances. But I'm using that as an example of when people are mourning the loss of something, and yet the money that they get from the inheritance allows them to live the life that they have been wanting to live for quite a while. And while nobody is cheering on a loss, really, when somebody makes their transition, the grief that we're feeling is for ourselves. If we're honest about it, we feel deprived of that person's presence, okay? But if we really love that person and we can see through the illusion of death, we can say, I am so happy for that person. Now they're free. Now they're completely free. Maybe that person was sick. Maybe they were, at a point in their life where they didn't feel like there was anything left for them to do. And while you may love them and want them to stay as long as possible, their higher self may have had other plans. And so I feel like it's really important to, even as you mourn the loss of somebody, to feel a sense of happiness for their new adventure. And another thing too, with the Ace of Pentacles, is with a new job, this can come from some kind of grief that you have lost something else. Maybe you had another job and you liked it and you were laid off and you took it personally and you felt that it said something about you as a worker. And you're going to have to work through that, but you have these wonderful cards. As a matter of fact, one of these cards is the Chariot, which is victory at hand. You have these cards of the two horses of duality, kind of, trying to for you to not be distracted by these extremes that are going on. And that's another thing too, the horses of duality. Here we have the eclipses in Gemini and Sagittarius. So in the complementary signs, the signs opposite to one another, we have these eclipses. What does that mean? What does that suggest for your future? Does that in the next year or so? It means that you're going to be visiting two houses. I'm not going to get too involved in that. Typically it will be, in this, if you're watching for your sun in Sag, Your natal sun may be in a totally different place. Your solar sun is the first house. So your solar chart, but your natal chart based on the time you're born could be totally different. I'm a sun in Sag, but my sun is in the 8th house. So, I have Taurus rising. So that changes everything in terms of timing. But this sense of, just looking at it from the solar chart perspective, the first house and the 7th house, relationship issues. Me versus we. Some of these may play out in the 12th house and the 6th house. So the house of the spiritual versus the house of the practical. And how do these things play out? And then we have the 5 of Wands, which is a card of competition, competitiveness, but it can be friendly competition. Get yourself, you might say, I'm going back into the battle, but in a nice way. It's not in a like, oh gosh, this is horrible and stressful. It can feel like, you know what, I've had my little moment, where I didn't trust myself and I felt like maybe everything I was doing was, for naught. And now I'm ready to get back into that fight. Fire signs are naturally competitive. But you don't have to be competitive in a toxic way. You can simply just enjoy mixing it up and really showing your stuff. So that's what I have for you, Sag. I hope that this resonated. And one thing I want to say about that 5 of Wands is go for it. Don't allow any kind of whatever that 5 of Cups represents. It's funny. It's really wild. I have been seeing 555 lately. Have any of you seen 555 lately? I mean, 1111, 111, 222, 444. Okay, those have been in the past. 333, 2. I was just looking at somebody very close to me, their security number was 333. I'm like, wow, this is so cool, because they lived at that address. And I was thinking, that's really freaky. So these repetitive numbers are supposed to be, angel numbers, messages from spirit. So 555, the number 5 represents change. And so in the tarot, these 5s can show up and they almost seem like negative, like 5 of Pentacles can be losing a job, because Pentacles is about money and work, and 5s are about change. I think it's connected to Mercury. So if your job is subject to change, it means that you could have that happen. 5 of Cups, the loss of love, or it's not about loss, but the change in circumstances. Okay. We have 5 of Wands and 5 of Swords. It's about gossiping. Swords relate to communication. I don't know where the change aspects comes in that. I don't think it's really about that. I think it's more of the trickster part of Mercury, to be kind of two-faced and all that. So, so I've been seeing 555, and I looked it up, and it was like about a lot of change. So, it is what it is, but we have to go with the flow and at the same time strut our stuff. Okay, that's what I have for you. If you would like a private reading, I am promoting my whole enchilada reading, which is a combination of a natal chart interpretation and transits, 70-minute reading plus a full-length tarot reading for a special discounted price. And I have all types of readings, especially astrological readings. The link below will give you more information. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.